Hey guys, tonight we're going on a gentle journey back through time to discover how Christmas was celebrated in medieval villages centuries ago. We'll walk through snowy cobblestone streets, smell the wood smoke curling from chimneys, and witness the ancient traditions that warmed hearts during the coldest months. This is a story of community, of simple joys, and of how our ancestors found light in winter's darkest embrace. Let's step into this magical world together, where every snowflake carried the promise of celebration. So get cozy tonight, pull those blankets up close, and let your mind drift to simpler times. If you enjoy these peaceful journeys through history, please consider subscribing to Sleepy Holidays, where we transform the past into gentle bedtime stories. Take a deep breath, let your shoulders relax, and allow yourself to be carried away by the soft rhythms of medieval winter. Your busy day is done. Now it's time to rest and dream of ancient Christmases filled with wonder. Chapter 1. Winter's mantle descends. The first snowflakes drift down like whispered prayers, settling softly on thatched roofs and wooden shutters. In the medieval hamlet of Aldwick, the villagers pause in their daily tasks to watch winter's gentle arrival. Children catch snowflakes on their tongues, while their mothers smile from doorways wrapped in woolen shawls. The air carries the promise of celebration, of warm hearths, and of the sacred season approaching like a beloved friend returning home after a long journey. The baker's cottage glows warmly against the grey December sky, sweet aromas of spiced bread drifting through frost-kissed window panes. Master Thomas kneads tomorrow's loaves, while humming an ancient carol, his weathered hands working the dough with practiced rhythm. His wife Margaret tends the fire, adding apple wood that crackles and pops, sending sparks dancing up the chimney. Outside, the snow continues its gentle descent, transforming their humble village into something magical, something touched by divine grace and earthly comfort. Across the village square, the blacksmith's hammer rings out its steady song, creating horseshoes and iron fittings for the Lord's sleigh. Young apprentice William works the bellows, watching orange flames leap and dance in the forge. The heat feels especially welcome as winter's chill seeps through the stone walls, and the contrast creates a cocoon of warmth and purpose. Through the open doorway, snowflakes occasionally drift in, hissing softly as they meet the heated anvil, like nature's gentle applause for honest work. In the manor house, Lady Eleanor surveys her household preparations with quiet satisfaction. Servants polish silver candlesticks until they gleam like captured moonlight, while kitchen maids grind cinnamon and nutmeg for the Christmas feast. The great hall's massive fireplace crackles with oak logs, casting dancing shadows on tapestried walls. Fresh pine boughs adorn the wooden beams, filling the air with forest fragrance, while beeswax candles wait patiently to illuminate the coming celebration with their warm, golden glow. The village children gather in the church courtyard, their breath forming little clouds in the crisp air as they practice their Christmas carols. Father Benedict watches with gentle eyes, his brown robes rustling softly in the winter breeze. Their young voices rise and fall like angels learning to sing, sometimes wavering, sometimes pure and clear as mountain streams. The ancient stone walls seem to embrace their melodies, holding the notes tenderly before releasing them to join the snowflakes in their peaceful dance toward heaven. Evening falls early in winter, and the village settles into its nightly rhythm. Oil lamps flicker to life in cottage windows, creating pools of amber warmth against the blue twilight. Families gather around their hearths, sharing simple meals of barley soup and brown bread, while outside the snow continues its silent accumulation. Grandfathers tell stories of Christmases past, their voices low and comforting, while grandmothers mend stockings by firelight, their needles catching the occasional gleam from the dancing flames. The mill wheel has frozen solid, its wooden paddles locked in winter's icy embrace. Miller John checks his grain stores, counting sacks of wheat and barley that will sustain the village through the cold months ahead. His cat purrs contentedly near the warming fire, while mice scurry through the rafters, unaware that even cats grow lazy in winter's peaceful spell. Through the frosted windows, the mill pond gleams like polished pewter under starlight, reflecting the first stars of evening in its still surface. In the castle's great kitchen, cooks prepare for tomorrow's feast with careful precision. Haunches of venison hang in the cold cellar, while barrels of ale rest in neat rows along stone walls. Scullery maids scrub copper pots until they shine, their work accompanied by soft humming and gentle laughter. The head cook inspects wheels of aged cheese, selecting the finest for the Lord's table, while kitchen cats patrol for mice, and the eternal dance of preparation continues under flickering torchlight. The village carpenter works late into the evening, crafting wooden toys for the Christmas celebration. His workshop smells of fresh pine shavings and beeswax, while wood curls spiral from his plane like golden ribbons. Outside, snow taps gently against the windows, but inside the air is warm with purpose and creativity. Each carved horse, each wooden doll receives the careful attention of loving hands, destined to bring joy to children who will treasure these simple gifts more than any palace riches. The Yule log lies ready in the great hall, a magnificent oak trunk that will burn throughout the 12 days of Christmas. Young men selected it from the forest weeks ago, choosing carefully for size and quality, then dragging it home through the early snow with songs and celebration. Now it waits, patient and proud, ready to provide warmth and light for the sacred season. Tradition says the log must burn continuously, carrying prayers and hopes from this year into the next. In cottage lofts throughout the village, children drift towards sleep, listening to the soft whisper of falling snow. Their mothers tuck woolen blankets around small shoulders, whispering prayers of gratitude for warm beds and full bellies. Through shuttered windows, they can hear the night watchman's distant call, his lantern casting a moving circle of light as he makes his rounds. The familiar sounds of home, of safety, of community settling into winter's embrace, create the perfect lullaby for peaceful dreams. The abbey bells chime midnight, their bronze voices carrying across the snow-covered landscape with crystal clarity. Brother Marcus tends the altar candles, their flames steady and true in the still air. The sanctuary feels especially sacred tonight, filled with anticipation for the approaching celebration of Christ's birth. Ancient stone walls hold centuries of prayers, while stained glass windows filter moonlight into jeweled patterns on the floor, creating a kaleidoscope of devotion and beauty that speaks directly to the soul. The Lord's hunting hounds sleep peacefully in their kennels, their day's work done, while stable horses stamp gently in their stalls, content with fresh hay and warm blankets. Even the castle's great walls seem to breathe more slowly, settling into winter's rhythm. Guard towers stand silent against the starlit sky, their watchfires burning low and steady, protecting this small corner of the world where simple souls prepare their hearts for the miracle of Christmas morning. As the village sleeps beneath winter's soft blanket, dreams carry the promise of tomorrow's joys. In those dreams, church bells ring with silver voices, families gather around laden tables, and children's laughter echoes through snowy streets. The medieval world rests peacefully, wrapped in traditions that have endured for generations, knowing that Christmas will come as it always has, bringing light to darkness, warmth to cold, and hope to hearts that beat with the same longings we carry today. Chapter 2. Echoes in the Abbey. As dawn breaks over the medieval village, we make our way toward the towering stone walls of the local abbey. The morning air carries something magical, the distant sound of voices rising in harmony. Through arched doorways worn smooth by centuries of faithful footsteps, we step into a world where time seems to pause, where ancient traditions wrap around us like a warm blanket on this cold December morning. The abbey walls rise before us, built from weathered limestone that has witnessed countless Christmas seasons. These stones hold memories, whispered prayers, joyful celebrations, quiet moments of reflection. As we approach the heavy wooden doors, their iron hinges creaking softly, we can already hear the gentle murmur of voices preparing for morning prayers. The air itself seems thick with devotion, carrying the faint scent of burning candles and aged parchment. Stepping inside, we're immediately embraced by the abbey's sacred atmosphere. Tall columns stretch upward like ancient trees, their carved capitals disappearing into shadowy vaults above. Soft light filters through stained glass windows, painting gentle colors across the stone floor. The temperature drops noticeably here, but there's warmth in the reverent silence, a peaceful coolness that invites contemplation and rest. Our footsteps echo softly as we find a quiet place to observe. The monks begin their morning chant, voices blending together in perfect harmony. These are not rushed or anxious sounds, but slow, measured tones that seem to flow like honey through the abbey's hallowed spaces. Each note finds its place naturally, creating layers of sound that wash over us like gentle waves. The Latin phrases rise and fall in ancient rhythms, carrying centuries of tradition in every carefully pronounced syllable that echoes off the stone. As their voices continue, we notice how the chanting creates a sense of timelessness. There's no hurry here, no urgent demands of daily life. The monks move slowly, deliberately, their brown robes swishing softly against the floor. Their faces reflect deep peace, eyes closed in meditation as familiar prayers flow effortlessly from memory. This is their daily rhythm, morning prayers that have remained unchanged for generations, connecting past and present in sacred continuity. The abbey serves as more than just a place of worship. It's the spiritual heart of the entire community. Villagers depend on these holy walls for guidance, comfort, and celebration. During the Christmas season, this dependence deepens. The monks become keepers of tradition, guardians of the sacred stories that make this season meaningful. Their daily prayers create a foundation of faith that supports the entire village through winter's darkest days and longest nights. As midday approaches, we observe the careful preparations for evening services. Candles are arranged with loving precision, their wicks trimmed and ready. Fresh evergreen boughs are placed near the altar, filling the air with the clean scent of pine. The monks work quietly, each task performed with reverent attention. Every detail matters here. Every preparation is an act of devotion, creating sacred space where the community will gather as darkness falls. The afternoon brings visiting villagers seeking blessing and guidance. We watch as families enter quietly, children wide-eyed at the abbey's grandeur. Parents whisper instructions about proper behavior in this holy place. The monks welcome each visitor warmly, offering gentle words and patient ears. There's no judgment here, only acceptance and love. These interactions remind us that the abbey exists not as separate sanctuary, but as integral part of community life and celebration. As evening approaches, preparations intensify for midnight mass, the most important service of the Christmas season. Additional candles are lit, casting dancing shadows on ancient walls. The altar is adorned with holly and ivy, symbols of eternal life during winter's dormancy. Incense burns slowly, its sweet smoke rising like prayers themselves. The entire abbey seems to hold its breath in anticipation of this sacred night, when heaven and earth traditionally meet in celebration. The bells begin to ring as darkness settles over the village, calling the faithful to evening prayer. Their bronze voices carry far across snowy fields and thatched rooftops, a sound both commanding and comforting. Families emerge from warm homes wrapping cloaks tightly against winter air. Lanterns bob like fireflies along village paths as people make their way toward the abbey's welcoming light. The entire community moves as one toward this beacon of faith. Inside, the evening service begins with familiar hymns that have echoed through these walls for centuries. Voices join together, young and old, rich and poor, united in songs their grandparents sang before them. The melodies are simple yet profound, designed to be remembered and passed down through generations. Each verse carries the weight of tradition, connecting this small medieval community to Christians across time and space through shared expression of faith. The friar rises to deliver his Christmas sermon, his voice warm and inviting despite the cold stone surroundings. His words paint pictures of hope and renewal. Speaking of light conquering darkness, themes particularly meaningful during winter's longest nights. Children listen with rapt attention while adults find comfort in familiar truths retold. The sermon becomes conversation between pastor and flock, creating intimacy within the abbey's vast spaces through shared stories and gentle wisdom. As the service concludes, something magical happens. The formal boundaries between sacred and celebratory begin to blur. Voices that moments before sang solemn hymns now turn to joyful Christmas carols. The abbey's acoustics transform these simple melodies into something transcendent. Harmony builds naturally as neighbors find their parts, creating music that seems to lift spirits toward the vaulted ceiling above. This is worship through celebration, faith expressed through communal joy. The celebration gradually moves outside, where torches have been lit along the abbey grounds. The warm glow creates circles of light in the December darkness, and we notice how naturally the community forms into smaller groups. Some continue singing, while others begin simple dances, feet moving in patterns passed down through countless generations. Children chase each other between the adults, their laughter adding bright notes to the evening's gentle chorus of celebration. The torch-lit procession begins to form, a river of light that will wind through village streets. We join this gentle parade, feeling the warmth of community surrounding us like the torches glow. Faces shine with contentment and anticipation. The abbey has done its work, transforming individual worries into shared hope. The evening air carries voices singing traditional carols, their familiar melodies creating bridges between past and present, between sacred service and joyful celebration ahead. As we prepare to leave the abbey's sacred grounds, we carry with us the peace found within its ancient walls. The monks' chants still echo in our hearts, their steady rhythms having slowed our breathing and calmed our minds. The community's unity has shown us how celebration grows from shared faith and tradition. Tomorrow will bring new adventures in our medieval Christmas journey, but tonight we rest in the gentle afterglow of abbey bells and candle-lit prayers. Chapter 3. A Hearth's Yule Tale. The great hall grows quiet as twilight settles over the medieval manor. Stone walls hold the warmth close, while outside, Winter winds whisper through bare branches. Tonight, we gather around the massive hearth, where the Yule log waits, a carefully chosen oak trunk that will burn for 12 days and nights. The elder approaches, his weathered hands gentle on the sacred wood. This is no ordinary fire, this is protection, prosperity, and ancient magic wrapped in flames and tradition. The elder's voice carries ancient wisdom as he explains the sacred ritual. This oak was felled with ceremony months ago, blessed by moonlight, and stored with reverence. Its bark bears the marks of countless winters, and its heartwood holds the memory of storms weathered and seasons survived. As he positions the log carefully on the iron dogs, sparks from the dying embers dance upward like tiny spirits seeking the stars. Each flame that catches is a prayer, each crackle a promise of protection through the darkest nights ahead. The kindling catches with a gentle whisper, dry birch and pine needles surrendering to the hungry flames. The Yule log begins its slow surrender to the fire, releasing the sweet scent of oak and the deeper notes of earth and time. Smoke curls upward in lazy spirals, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of the household. The elder speaks softly of the old beliefs, how the ashes will be saved to protect the home from lightning, how the burning log wards off malevolent spirits that prowl the winter nights. Shadows dance on the stone walls as the fire grows stronger, golden light painting the faces of those gathered near. The heat begins to radiate outward, pushing back the December chill that seeps through window shutters and door frames. Children huddle closer, their eyes wide with wonder as the elder speaks of winter creatures that fear the sacred flame. The wassail bowl passes from hand to hand, warm spiced cider carrying the flavors of apples, cinnamon and cloves, each sip a toast to the light returning to the world. The elder's stories flow like honey from the comb, tales of Yule logs that burned in hearths of kings and peasants alike. He speaks of the Holly King and Oak King, eternal rivals who battle for dominance over the seasons. Tonight, as the solstice approaches, the Oak King begins his reign, bringing with him the promise that each day will grow a little brighter. The log settles deeper into the fire, its surface glowing like molten gold, ancient wood transformed into pure warmth and light. Steam rises from clay cups filled with mulled wine, the rich aroma of heated berries and warming spices mingling with the wood smoke. The elder explains how each family's Yule log carries its own blessing, some for prosperity in the coming harvest, others for protection of loved ones far from home. A piece of the previous year's log was saved to kindle this one, an unbroken chain of light stretching back through generations. The fire crackles approvingly, as if acknowledging the sacred continuity of tradition. The warmth seeps into your bones as you settle deeper into the straw-filled cushions, the fire's heat creating a cocoon of comfort against the winter night. Outside, snow begins to fall in gentle flakes, each crystal catching the light from the windows like tiny stars returning to earth. The elder's voice grows softer as he speaks of the supernatural guardians that the Yule fire attracts, benevolent spirits drawn to the warmth and light, ancient protectors who keep watch while the household sleeps peacefully through the longest nights. The great log shifts in the fire, sending up a shower of sparks that dance like fireflies in the smoky air. Each ember carries a wish, a prayer for health, happiness and abundance in the year ahead. The elder speaks of distant lands where similar fires burn tonight, Celtic hearths where the old ways never died, Norse halls where Odin's ravens carry news of the solstice celebration. The Yule log connects all these distant flames, a network of light pushing back the darkness that threatens to swallow the winter world. The scent of roasting chestnuts mingles with the wood smoke, sweet nutty aromas that make your mouth water in anticipation. Platters of winter fare appear as if by magic, honeyed cakes, preserved fruits, and fresh bread, still warm from the ovens. The elder explains how the Yule feast celebrates abundance even in the lean months, a defiant joy in the face of winter's scarcity. The log burns steadier now, its flames reaching upward with confident strength, transforming the great hall into a sanctuary of warmth and plenty. Stories flow as freely as the heated wine, tales of winters past, when the Yule log saved homes from supernatural threats. The elder speaks of malevolent spirits that prowl the darkest nights, creatures of ice and shadow that fear the sacred flame. He tells of households where the log burned out too soon, and the misfortunes that followed until a new fire could be properly kindled. But here, surrounded by the steady warmth, you feel only safety and peace, protected by ancient magic and community bonds, stronger than winter's grip. The fire has found its rhythm now, a steady crackling song that soothes the soul like a lullaby. Faces around the hearth grow drowsy in the hypnotic light, children curled against their parents like sleeping kittens, adults lost in contemplation of the dancing flames. The elder's voice becomes a gentle murmur, speaking of the log's slow transformation from solid wood to glowing embers, a metaphor for the soul's journey through darkness toward light, through winter's trials toward spring's renewal and hope. The great log settles deeper into its bed of coals, glowing with internal fire like a sleeping dragon's heart. Hours have passed in what feels like moments, time moving with the liquid grace of honey poured from a jar. The elder speaks of how the Yule log teaches patience, how some blessings cannot be rushed, how the deepest warmth comes from slow burning rather than quick flame. The ashes that will remain will be treasured, scattered on fields for fertility, saved in pouches for protection throughout the coming year. Midnight approaches, and still the log burns strong, its glow reflecting off pewter plates and copper vessels, casting everything in warm amber light. The elder speaks in hushed tones of the power that peaks at the solstice hour, when the earth itself holds its breath before turning back toward the light. Outside, the snow continues to fall, but within this circle of firelight, there is only warmth and wonder. The Yule log has become more than wood. It is hope made manifest, ancient wisdom glowing bright against the darkness. The last of the evening's tales draws to a close. Stories of Yule logs that granted miraculous boons to those who tended them with proper reverence. The fire has burned down to a steady bed of glowing coals, still radiating gentle heat that will last through the night. The elder explains how the log will continue burning for days, watched over by family members who take turns keeping vigil, ensuring the sacred flame never dies until the 12 days of celebration are complete and winter's power begins to wane. As the household prepares for sleep, the Yule log continues its patient burning, a faithful guardian keeping watch through the dark hours. The elder places a blessing on the fire, ancient words that have been spoken over countless hearths through countless winters. The warmth wraps around you like a beloved blanket, seeping into every fiber of your being, carrying with it the comfort of tradition, the security of ancient protection, and the quiet joy of being part of something larger than yourself, connected to generations who gathered before similar fires. The great hall grows quiet, except for the soft crackling of the sacred log, its glow painting peaceful dreams on sleeping faces. The elder takes his place as night watchman, settling into his chair beside the hearth, keeping the ancient vigil that ensures the fire burns true until dawn. The Yule log pulses with gentle life, its warmth flowing through stone and timber, through heart and soul, a river of light carrying you safely through the darkest night, toward the promise of brighter days ahead, wrapped forever in the magic of the season. Chapter 4. Songs in the Snow. In the depths of medieval winter, when frost painted every window pane and snow blanketed cobblestone streets, a cherished tradition emerged from the darkness. Groups of carolers would gather as twilight settled, their breath forming small clouds in the crisp air. With lanterns glowing softly in their hands, they prepared to carry ancient melodies from door to door, spreading warmth through song beneath the Christmas moon's gentle light. The tradition of caroling began centuries ago, rooted in the ancient practice of wassailing, traveling singers who blessed orchards and homes with good fortune. These medieval wanderers transformed simple folk melodies into sacred hymns, weaving together pagan customs with Christian celebration. Their voices carried stories of hope and renewal, bridging the gap between earth and heaven as they moved through sleeping villages like gentle spirits of the season. As evening deepened, the first group emerged from a timber-framed cottage, their woolen cloaks dusted with snowflakes. The leader held a horn lantern, its amber light casting dancing shadows on the fresh snow. Behind him, children and adults alike clutched small songbooks, their pages worn from years of use. The crisp air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the first notes to pierce the winter silence with ancient melodies. Their footsteps crunched softly through the snow as they approached the first dwelling, a baker's shop with smoke still curling from its chimney. The warm scent of bread lingered in the cold air, mingling with pine and wood smoke. The carolers formed a semicircle, their faces glowing in the lantern light. A moment of reverent silence passed before the first voice rose, clear and sweet, beginning the opening notes of God Rest Ye Merry, Gentlemen. God rest ye merry, gentlemen. Let nothing you dismay. The melody floated through the still night air, each note crystalline and pure. Voices joined one by one, creating layers of harmony that seemed to wrap around the sleeping houses like a warm embrace. The baker's window glowed brighter as figures moved inside, drawn by the ancient carol that spoke of comfort and joy during the darkest time of year. From house to house they wandered, leaving trails of footprints in the pristine snow. At the miller's cottage, they sang the holly and the ivy, their voices rising and falling like the gentle wind through bare branches. The evergreen symbols in their song painted images of eternal life and hope, while their warm breath created small clouds that drifted upward like whispered prayers into the star-filled winter sky above the medieval village. The holly and the ivy. When they are both full-grown, the ancient words carried deeper meanings that medieval listeners understood well. Holly represented the masculine, protective spirit of winter, while ivy symbolized feminine resilience and eternal growth. As the carolers sang, doors began opening slowly, revealing grateful faces bathed in candlelight, their expressions softened by the gift of music on this holy night filled with wonder and tradition. A merchant's family emerged from their stone dwelling, the mother carrying a steaming cup of mulled wine to share with the singers. The children pressed their faces against frost-covered windows, eyes wide with delight at the magical scene unfolding in their courtyard. The carolers accepted the warm drink gratefully, their voices renewed for the next song that would carry them deeper into the heart of the sleeping village beneath winter's gentle embrace. Through narrow alleyways they processed, their lanterns casting long shadows that danced across timber and stone. The sound of their footsteps created a gentle percussion against the silent night, accompanied by the soft rustle of woolen cloaks and the occasional gentle cough that puffed white in the cold air. Each house they approached seemed to glow a little brighter, as if anticipating the gift of song that approached through the snow. At the blacksmith's forge, still warm from the day's work, they paused to sing a haunting melody about the Christ child's birth. Their voices echoed softly off the stone walls, creating an ethereal resonance that seemed to linger in the air long after the last note faded. The smith's wife appeared in the doorway, her face gentle with emotion as she listened to the ancient story retold through melody and harmony beneath the starlit medieval sky. The younger children in the group began to show rosy cheeks from the cold, their eyes bright with excitement despite the late hour. They huddled closer together, sharing body warmth as they prepared for another song. Their small voices added a pure, innocent quality to the harmonies, like angels joining the earthly choir. The snow continued to fall gently, adding fresh layers to their footprints and muffling all sounds except their precious melodies. As they reached the village square, their songs attracted other wandering groups of carolers, creating an impromptu choir beneath the ancient oak tree at the center of town. Multiple lanterns now flickered like earthbound stars, their combined light pushing back the darkness while voices from different families and trades blended in perfect harmony. The medieval night filled with layers of sound that seemed to transform the very air into music and magic. The eldest caroler, a village patriarch with a voice weathered by many winters, began a solo that told of shepherds in distant fields. His deep bass notes anchored the growing chorus as others joined with tenor and soprano lines that soared above like birds taking flight. The harmony they created was something beyond human craft. It was the sound of community, of shared faith and tradition passed down through generations of winter nights. From upper windows, faces appeared like gentle ghosts, watching the carolers with expressions of deep contentment. Some listeners dropped small coins wrapped in cloth, tiny gifts of gratitude that jingled softly in the snow. But the true gift was intangible, the warmth of human connection, the sharing of stories through song, and the way ancient melodies could transform a cold winter night into something luminous and transcendent for the entire medieval community. As the evening grew later, the carolers began their journey homeward, their mission of spreading joy nearly complete. Their voices had grown softer now, more intimate, as if sharing whispered secrets with the night itself. The snow had covered many of their earlier footprints, but new ones led toward warm hearths and comfortable beds. Behind them, the village settled into peaceful slumber, hearts filled with the echoes of ancient songs. The last notes of their final carol drifted across the snow-covered rooftops like a lullaby for the sleeping village. Lanterns were extinguished one by one until only starlight remained, casting silver shadows on the pristine snow that held the memory of their passage. The tradition of songs in the snow would continue for generations, each winter bringing new voices to carry forward these timeless melodies of hope, peace, and goodwill through the magical darkness of medieval Christmas nights. Chapter 5. Holly, Ivy, and Evergreen. The winter forest calls to us now, its silence broken only by the soft whisper of falling snow. Step carefully along the frosted path, where ancient oaks stand bare against the grey December sky. Here, medieval families once wandered in search of nature's winter treasures, the evergreens that would bring life and colour into their stone halls during the darkest months of the year. Your breath forms small clouds in the crisp air as you venture deeper into these quiet woods. The snow crunches softly beneath your leather boots, each step leaving a gentle impression in the pristine white carpet. Above, bare branches create intricate patterns against the pewter sky, while somewhere ahead, the deep green of holly and ivy promises warmth and celebration in this season of cold and contemplation. Long before glass ornaments and electric lights, medieval households turned to nature's own decorations. The tradition grew from necessity and wisdom. Evergreen plants remained vibrant when all else seemed dead or sleeping. These hardy survivors became symbols of hope, resilience, and the promise that spring would return. Families would gather together, baskets in hand, to collect these precious gifts from the winter forest. There, nestled among the snow-dusted undergrowth, you spot the first holly bush. Its glossy leaves shine like polished emeralds, their waxy surface reflecting the pale winter light. Each leaf bears protective spines along its edges, nature's way of safeguarding this precious plant. But it's the berries that truly capture your attention. Clusters of brilliant red orbs, like tiny jewels scattered across the dark green canvas. Reach out and gently touch a holly leaf, feeling its smooth, almost leather-like texture. The contrast is remarkable, soft to the touch, despite its fierce appearance. Medieval families believed holly possessed special powers during the winter months. Its red berries represented the blood of Christ, while the pointed leaves symbolized his crown of thorns. Every home welcomed holly as both decoration and spiritual guardian during the sacred season. Climbing along the rough bark of an old oak, tendrils of ivy weave their ancient patterns. This humble plant, so different from the bold holly, offers its own quiet beauty. Run your fingers along its trailing vines, feeling the delicate heart-shaped leaves that seem to whisper secrets of persistence and devotion. Ivy clings and climbs, never letting go, symbolizing eternal love and faithful friendship throughout the harsh winter months. The ivy's deep green leaves create a tapestry against the tree's weathered trunk, their surfaces soft and velvety to the touch. Medieval households treasured ivy for its ability to bring gentle beauty indoors without the sharp edges of holly. Young maidens would weave ivy into garlands, their fingers working carefully to create flowing decorations that would grace doorways and windowsills, softening the stone coldness of winter walls. Deeper in the forest stands a magnificent evergreen, a towering fir whose branches sweep downward like a noble lady's gown. This tree, unchanged by winter's touch, would become the centerpiece of medieval Christmas celebrations. Its needle-covered branches hold snow like delicate lace, while beneath, the rich scent of pine and earth mingles with the clean, sharp fragrance of winter air. Each breath fills your lungs with forest magic. Medieval families approached these forest treasures with reverence and gratitude. They never took more than they needed, always leaving enough for the woodland creatures who depended on these plants for winter survival. Fathers would lift children to reach the best holly sprigs, while mothers gathered ivy with careful, practiced hands. The whole family worked together, their voices creating gentle echoes in the quiet winter woods. Feel the weight of the gathering basket as it fills with nature's winter treasures. Holly branches heavy with berries nestle beside trailing lengths of ivy, while small evergreen boughs add their piney fragrance to the collection. Your hands grow cold, but your heart stays warm, knowing these simple gifts from the forest will transform your home into a place of wonder and celebration for the coming feast. The journey home leads through snow-covered meadows where your footprints create a winding path back to warmth and shelter. The evergreens in your basket seem to carry the forest's peaceful energy, promising to bring that same tranquil beauty into the stone halls and wooden chambers of medieval homes. Above, the short winter day begins its gentle fade toward the comforting embrace of evening. Inside the great hall, the transformation begins with careful, loving hands. Holly finds its place above doorways and windows, the red berries catching firelight like tiny stars. Ivy drapes gracefully along wooden beams and stone mantels, its trailing vines creating natural garlands that soften harsh corners and cold surfaces. Each placement is deliberate, thoughtful, creating patterns of green life against winter's grey and brown palette. The evergreen boughs release their forest fragrance throughout the room, mixing with the scents of wood smoke and spiced wine. This natural perfume speaks of life continuing even in winter's depths, of hope persisting through the darkest months. Medieval families understood that these simple decorations did more than beautify. They brought the living world indoors, creating sacred space where celebration and contemplation could flourish together. Children gather around to help arrange the smaller sprigs, their young hands learning the ancient art of bringing nature's beauty indoors. They marvel at the holly's bright berries and the ivy's graceful curves, beginning to understand the deeper meanings their parents see in these simple plants. Each decoration becomes a lesson in resilience, beauty, and the eternal cycle of seasons that governs all life. As evening settles over the medieval household, the evergreen decorations seem to glow with inner light. Holly berries gleam like rubies in the firelight, while ivy leaves create dancing shadows on stone walls. The room fills with the peaceful energy of the winter forest, transformed now into a sacred space where families gather to celebrate the turning of the year and the promise of returning light. Rest now in this decorated chamber, surrounded by the gentle presence of holly, ivy, and evergreen. Feel how these simple plants have transformed cold stone into warm sanctuary, bringing the forest's peaceful wisdom indoors. Tomorrow will bring more preparations, more celebrations, but tonight, let the quiet beauty of nature's winter gifts lull you into peaceful dreams, cradled by the eternal promise of green life enduring. Chapter 6. Of Feasts and Thanksgivings. The great hall awakens before dawn, filled with the gentle bustle of preparation. Kitchen maids shuffle through corridors, carrying bundles of herbs, rosemary, thyme, and sage. The massive stone hearth crackles to life, casting dancing shadows across weathered walls. Today marks the grandest celebration of the medieval winter, a feast that will unite every soul within these castle walls, from noble lord to humble servant, in the ancient ritual of shared abundance and gratitude. The head cook, a sturdy woman with flour-dusted aprons, surveys her domain with practiced eyes. Wooden tables groan under the weight of ingredients gathered from storehouse and garden. Wheels of aged cheese, barrels of salted pork, sacks of winter grain, all the treasures hoarded through harvest months, now emerge for this sacred celebration. Her weathered hands move with gentle precision, directing the symphony of preparation that will transform raw provisions into a feast worthy of remembrance. Young apprentices tend the great spit, where a whole boar slowly turns above glowing coals. The meat glistens with its own juices, skin crackling and popping as fat drips into the flames below. The rich aroma of roasting pork fills every corner of the kitchen, mingling with wood smoke and herbs. This centerpiece of the feast has been turning since midnight, tended by careful hands, basted with ale and honey, until its skin gleams like burnished copper in the firelight. At smaller hearths, iron pots bubble with thick pottage, a hearty stew of barley, root vegetables, and precious spices brought from distant lands. Cinnamon bark floats like tiny boats in the simmering broth. Cloves pierce onions like miniature stars. The warmth of these spices carries more than flavor. They bring memories of far-off markets, exotic shores, and the merchants who braved winter roads to deliver these treasures to castle kitchens across the realm. The bakehouse fills with golden light as loaves emerge from brick ovens. White bread, a luxury reserved for feast days, sits alongside darker rounds made from rye and barley. The baker's children help shape sweet pastries, their small fingers learning the ancient art of turning simple flour into edible joy. Steam rises from each loaf like morning mist, carrying the comforting scent of yeast and grain, the fundamental promise of sustenance that has nourished generations before. In copper cauldrons, dried fruits plump in spiced wine, raisins and figs, apricots and dates swell with crimson liquid, perfumed with nutmeg and mace. This will become the rich filling for mince pies, those precious parcels of pastry that hold the essence of celebration. The fruit mixture bubbles gently, releasing clouds of aromatic steam that speak of abundance, of preservation through winter's grip, of sweetness saved for the most sacred moments of the year. The dairy maids churn butter until their arms ache, the cream transforming from liquid to solid through rhythmic persistence. Fresh curds drain in woven baskets, destined to become the white cheese that will grace every table. Eggs from the henhouse, carefully hoarded through winter's lean days, now emerge for custards and puddings. These simple gifts from farm and field become precious offerings in the feast's grand tapestry of flavor and tradition. The great ale barrels stand like patient sentinels in the cool cellar. Brewmaster's apprentices draw the amber liquid into pewter jugs, its surface crowned with creamy foam. This ale carries the warmth of summer barley, the wisdom of yeast, the alchemy of time and temperature. Mixed with honey and heated with iron pokers glowing from the fire, it becomes a golden elixir that will warm bodies and spirits throughout the long feast celebration ahead. Even the poorest villagers contribute to the feast's preparation. They bring eggs from their few hens, milk from their single cow, vegetables from gardens tended through the growing season. No gift is too small for this celebration. Children carry bundles of kindling, elders share their knowledge of herb lore and ancient recipes. The feast becomes a tapestry woven from every thread of community life, rich and poor united in the sacred act of preparing abundance for all. The great hall transforms as trestle tables stretch from wall to wall. Fresh rushes carpet the stone floor, releasing their green scent with every footstep. Candles multiply like stars across the space, their warm light dancing on polished wood and burnished metal. Tapestries unfurl from wooden rods, depicting scenes of harvest and hunt. The cold, austere hall of everyday life disappears, replaced by a chamber of warmth, welcome, and wonder. As afternoon light fades through tall windows, the first dishes emerge from kitchen to hall. Servants process in careful lines, bearing platters that steam and glisten in the candlelight. The boar arrives on a massive wooden trencher, garnished with apples and herbs. Puddings shaped like castles wobble in their moulds. Pies golden as autumn leaves release their spiced breath into the warming air. The feast begins its transformation from preparation to celebration. The lord and lady take their places at the high table, as guests fill benches throughout the hall. Merchants sit beside farmers, craftsmen next to clergy. The rigid boundaries of daily life soften in the feast's generous embrace. Conversations bloom across class and calling, as shared hunger becomes shared satisfaction. The simple act of breaking bread together creates bonds stronger than law or custom, weaving the community into a tapestry of belonging. Carved meat falls from knife to trencher in generous portions. The rich gravy pools in bread bowls, soaking deep into the grain's hungry fibers. Fingers, the preferred utensils of the age, work with practiced grace to convey food from plate to mouth. The hall fills with the sounds of satisfied eating, quiet murmurs of appreciation, the gentle clink of cups, the rustle of clothing as bodies relax into the rhythm of feast and fellowship. Ale flows freely from pitcher to cup, its golden warmth loosening tongues and hearts alike. Toasts rise throughout the hall, to health, to harvest, to the bonds that unite them. Each raised cup catches candlelight like a tiny sun, and voices join in ancient words of gratitude and blessing. The ale carries more than fermented grain. It bears the essence of community, the liquid courage to speak kindness to neighbors and strangers alike. The sweet course arrives as the evening deepens. Mince pies release their spiced treasures with each broken crust. Honey cakes glisten like amber jewels. Preserved fruits, rare and precious, appear like edible gems upon wooden platters. Children's eyes widen at these delicacies, their faces glowing with wonder and sticky with honey. Even the simplest custard becomes magnificent in the feast's magical transformation of the ordinary into the extraordinary and memorable. As the feast draws toward its gentle close, bellies full and hearts warmed, the true magic reveals itself. This abundance was never about the food alone, but about the hands that prepared it, the voices that shared it, the community that created it together. In this medieval hall, surrounded by flickering candles and satisfied faces, the deepest hunger has been fed, the human need for connection, for belonging, for the sacred act of sharing life's gifts with grateful hearts. Chapter 7. Gifts in the Gloaming. The winter evening settles like a soft blanket over the medieval village. Twilight paints the snow-covered rooftops in shades of purple and gold. Inside warm cottages, families gather around flickering candles, their hands busy with gentle work. Tonight, they prepare tokens of love, simple gifts that carry the weight of tradition and the warmth of the human heart. The air hums with quiet anticipation. The practice of gift-giving traces back to the three wise men who brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh to the Christ child. In these medieval homes, that sacred tradition lives on through humble offerings. A mother carefully stitches a small cloth doll, her needle catching the firelight with each gentle pull. Her daughter watches, learning the ancient art of creating something beautiful with nothing but patience and love. In the carpenter's workshop, wood shavings curl away from a growing treasure. A small wooden horse takes shape under weathered hands that have crafted countless gifts over the years. Each smooth stroke of the plane whispers of Christmas morning joy. The scent of fresh pine mingles with the smoky warmth from the hearth, creating an atmosphere thick with promise and possibility. Love carved in wood. Across the village, women gather in the weaving room, their voices soft as snowfall. Fingers work colored threads into patterns passed down through generations. A warm cloak emerges, a scarf blooms with intricate designs. Mittens take shape to warm small hands. The gentle click of needles creates a rhythm as soothing as a lullaby. Each stitch holds a prayer for the one who will receive it. The baker rises before dawn, flour dusting his apron like morning frost. Today he crafts more than daily bread. His hands shape gingerbread figures and honey cakes that will delight children on Christmas morning. The sweet aroma of cinnamon and nutmeg fills the pre-dawn darkness. These edible gifts speak of abundance shared, of sweetness given freely, of love baked into every golden crumb that will bring smiles. In the candle maker's shop, beeswax transforms under careful hands. Each taper is dipped with meditation, creating lights that will pierce winter's darkness. These gifts of illumination carry deep meaning. They represent hope, guidance, and the sacred light that entered the world on that first Christmas night. The warm yellow glow promises to banish shadows and bring comfort to those who receive them with grateful hearts. Children peer through frost-covered windows, their breath creating small clouds of anticipation. They know something magical stirs in their homes, hushed conversations, hidden bundles, mysterious rustling sounds from behind closed doors. Their eyes sparkle with the same wonder that has filled young hearts for centuries. The excitement builds like gentle waves, creating a symphony of whispered hopes and Christmas dreams that dance through the air. The village blacksmith works by forge light, his hammer ringing against hot metal. He crafts simple jewelry, a copper bracelet, a silver pin shaped like a star. Each piece bears the marks of his craft and the warmth of his intention. These gifts will carry the strength of the forge and the devotion of their maker. Metal transformed by fire becomes a token of enduring love and protection. In quiet corners, grandmothers share ancient stories while their hands never rest. They speak of Christmas customs while braiding ribbons, polishing wooden spoons, and filling small sachets with dried lavender. These elder hands hold the wisdom of countless gift-giving seasons. Their voices carry the gentle authority of tradition, weaving together tales of generosity that stretch back through the mists of time like golden threads. The manor house bustles with quiet preparation, as servants ready gifts for the Lord's family. Silk ribbons cascade like waterfalls of color across wooden tables. Precious spices from distant lands fill small pouches, their exotic scents promising adventure. Even the wealthy understand that the most meaningful gifts come wrapped not in expense but in thoughtfulness, in the careful consideration of what brings joy to another soul. Midnight mass approaches, and with it the traditional time for gift exchange. Families bundle their handmade treasures carefully, wrapping them in scraps of cloth or pages from old manuscripts. The anticipation grows thick as winter honey. Soon they will walk through snowy streets toward the church, their hearts full of the quiet joy that comes from giving, from sharing the fruits of their hands and hearts. The church bells toll across the sleeping village, calling the faithful to Christmas Eve service. Families emerge from warm homes carrying their gifts like sacred offerings. Footsteps crunch softly in fresh snow, creating a procession of shadowy figures moving toward the golden glow of the church windows. Each person carries not just gifts but hope, faith, and the deep peace of this most holy night. After Mass, as families return home beneath star-scattered skies, the gift-giving begins. Children gasp with wonder at wooden toys and warm mittens. Parents exchange knowing smiles over practical gifts made with love. The soft rustling of fabric fills the air as packages are unwrapped. Gentle laughter echoes through the houses like music, creating a symphony of Christmas joy that warms every heart completely. Under the Yule tree, gifts find their destined homes. A carved wooden cross nestles against her embroidered pillow. Candles stand ready to light dark corners. Small treats wait to sweeten the morning ahead. Each gift tells a story of connection, of hands that worked in love, of hearts that thought of others' joy. The tree becomes an altar of human kindness, blessed by the spirit of giving itself. As the night deepens, families gather close around dying fires. The gifts have been given, the joy shared, the traditions honored once more. Children clutch new treasures as they drift toward sleep. Parents feel the deep satisfaction of seeing happiness bloom in their loved ones' faces. The ancient cycle of giving and receiving continues, weaving its magic through another generation of hearts hungry for connection and love. In the quiet aftermath of Christmas giving, peace settles over the medieval village like fresh snow. The glooming has given way to deep night, but hearts remain warm with the afterglow of shared joy. Tomorrow will bring new light, new hope, new opportunities for kindness. But tonight, wrapped in the contentment that comes from giving freely, the village sleeps, and dreams of love made visible through simple gifts. Chapter 8. In Pursuit of Winter Elves. In the frost-kissed villages of medieval times, winter brought more than snow and shortened days. It carried whispers of magical beings who danced between shadow and moonlight. These winter elves, known to villagers as the hidden guardians of the season, were both blessing and mischief wrapped in starlight cloaks. Tonight, we follow their ethereal footsteps through ancient forests and cobblestone streets, discovering the enchanting folklore that warmed hearts during the coldest months of the medieval year. The first snowfall always marked their arrival. Village elders would gather children by crackling hearth fires, speaking in hushed tones about the gentle spirits who emerged when frost painted window panes with delicate crystals. These elves were said to be no taller than a child's forearm, with eyes that sparkled like captured starlight, and voices that rang like silver bells carried on winter winds. Their presence could be felt in the sudden warmth that filled a cold room, or the mysterious appearance of small gifts left on doorsteps overnight. Master Geoffrey, the village cobbler, often spoke of finding tiny footprints in the fresh snow outside his workshop each morning, no larger than acorns. These delicate impressions would weave intricate patterns around his door, as if the elves had danced through the night while he slept. Sometimes he would discover that his leather scraps had been mysteriously organized, or that a particularly difficult boot repair had been completed with stitching so fine it seemed touched by magic itself, bringing wonder to his weathered face. The baker's wife, Dame Margaret, would often find her kneading bowl filled with perfectly risen dough on mornings when she had fallen asleep before finishing her evening preparations. The bread that emerged from these mysterious loaves was said to taste sweeter than any she could create alone, with a golden crust that seemed to glow like captured sunshine. She learned to leave small portions of honey and cream on her windowsill, as tokens of gratitude for these nocturnal helpers who blessed her humble bakery. Children would wake to find their worn stockings mysteriously mended overnight, or discover that their simple wooden toys had been polished to shine like precious treasures. The winter elves were known for their gentle pranks too, hiding one shoe while leaving the other perfectly placed, or braiding horses' manes into elaborate patterns that sparkled with morning frost. These harmless tricks brought laughter rather than frustration, for villagers understood that such playfulness was simply the elves' way of sharing joy during winter's darkest days. On the longest nights of winter, brave souls would venture into the snow-laden forests, hoping to catch a glimpse of these magical beings. They would follow trails of luminescent footprints that seemed to glow with their own inner light, leading deeper into groves where ancient oak trees stood sentinel. The lucky few who witnessed the winter elves described them as beings of pure wonder, their laughter tinkling like ice crystals falling on frozen streams, their movements as graceful as snowflakes dancing on winter breezes through the moonlit woodland. Village chroniclers recorded tales of winter elves appearing during times of great need. When harsh storms threatened to bury homes in snow, mysterious paths would appear overnight, perfectly cleared and safe for travel. During particularly bitter winters when food grew scarce, families would discover baskets of preserved fruits and nuts appearing at their doors, always accompanied by the faint scent of pine needles and the whisper of gentle laughter carried on the wind, bringing hope when despair threatened to settle like winter frost. The village priest, Father Benedict, initially dismissed such tales as pagan nonsense, yet even he couldn't explain the mysterious appearances of fresh candles in his chapel during winter's darkest weeks, or how his store of communion wine never seemed to diminish despite feeding his growing congregation. The elves, it seemed, respected all expressions of faith and kindness. Eventually, Father Benedict came to understand that these beings were simply another manifestation of divine grace, bringing light and warmth to those who needed it most during winter's embrace. Young apprentices working late in their master's workshops would sometimes hear the gentle sound of tiny hammers tapping in rhythm with their own work. When they investigated, they would find no trace of the mysterious helpers, yet their tasks would be mysteriously completed with craftsmanship that exceeded their own abilities. These winter elves seemed drawn to industrious souls, rewarding hard work with unexpected assistance. The apprentices learned to work in comfortable silence, feeling the presence of benevolent spirits sharing their labors through the long winter nights. The castle's kitchen servants whispered of winter elves who would appear in the great hearths after the fires had died down to glowing embers. These tiny beings would warm themselves by the fading heat, while sharing stories in voices so soft they sounded like wind sighing through pine boughs. Cook Mary claimed she could understand their ancient language when she listened carefully, learning recipes for wassail and winter puddings that became legendary throughout the kingdom, bringing warmth and wonder to even the grandest of medieval feasts. Travelers caught in winter storms would sometimes discover mysterious shelters appearing in the forest, small hollows lined with moss and pine boughs that provided unexpected warmth and protection. These refuges would vanish with the morning light, leaving only the faint impression of tiny hands having worked through the night. Local guides learned to trust in the elves' protective presence, knowing that those who traveled with pure hearts would never be left to face winter's fury alone, finding sanctuary in the most unexpected places along ancient paths. The village storyteller, Old Henrik, claimed that winter elves were the keepers of forgotten memories and lost dreams. He spoke of seeing them collecting fallen icicles at dawn, explaining that each crystalline fragment contained a whispered wish or childhood wonder that had been breathed into the winter air. These magical beings would weave these collected dreams into gossamer threads, creating invisible nets of hope that stretched across the village, ensuring that no soul would feel entirely alone during winter's most challenging moments when darkness seemed to linger longest. During winter festivals, the elves were said to dance unseen among the celebrating villagers, their joy amplifying the music and laughter that filled the air. Musicians would find their instruments tuned to perfect pitch each morning, while dancers discovered their tired feet felt mysteriously refreshed after a night's rest. The elves' invisible presence transformed simple celebrations into magical experiences, where even the humblest gathering felt touched by enchantment. Their gift was the ability to remind humans that wonder and joy could flourish even in winter's coldest embrace. As winter gradually gave way to early spring's first tentative warmth, the elves' presence would begin to fade like morning mist. Village children would search desperately for the last traces of their magical friends, tiny footprints growing fainter each day, the mysterious gifts becoming less frequent. Yet wise villagers knew that the winter elves never truly departed. They simply returned to the hidden places between seasons, waiting patiently for frost and snow to call them back, their eternal cycle of wonder continuing through countless winters yet to come. Some say that on the clearest winter nights, when stars shine like scattered diamonds against velvet skies, you can still hear their gentle laughter carried on the wind. The winter elves taught medieval villagers that magic exists not in grand gestures, but in small acts of kindness, in mysterious gifts that appear when most needed, in the warmth that fills a cold room, in the hope that persists through winter's darkest hours. Their legacy reminds us that wonder surrounds us always, waiting to be discovered by those who believe. Tonight, as we close this chapter on winter elves, let their gentle spirit fill your dreams with warmth and wonder. Feel the soft crunch of snow beneath tiny feet, hear the distant tinkle of ethereal laughter, and know that magic lives in the spaces between what we see and what we believe. Rest now in the knowledge that even in winter's coldest moments, there are invisible hands working to bring comfort and joy. Let sleep carry you to enchanted forests where winter elves dance eternally among moonbeams and starlight, weaving dreams of endless wonder. Chapter 9. Chills and Charity. As winter's grip tightened around the medieval village, something beautiful began to bloom in the frost-kissed air, the warmth of human kindness. Despite the biting cold that made breath visible in silver puffs, hearts grew warmer with each passing day. The season of giving had arrived, and with it came countless opportunities for generosity. From the grandest manor to the humblest cottage, charity flowed like a gentle river through the community, touching every soul. In the early morning hours, before the sun painted the snow-covered rooftops golden, villagers would quietly prepare small bundles of grain. These precious offerings weren't for themselves, but for the sparrows, robins and finches who struggled to find sustenance beneath the frozen ground. With mittened hands, they scattered seeds along windowsills and doorsteps, their breath creating small clouds as they whispered blessings for the hungry birds who would soon discover these life-giving gifts. The village weaver, her fingers still nimble despite her advancing years, worked tirelessly by candlelight creating woolen scarves and mittens. Each stitch was infused with love, each pattern carefully chosen to bring both warmth and beauty to those who had little. When morning came, she would quietly leave these treasures on doorsteps where families with children might find them, never seeking recognition for her generous heart that beat stronger than the winter wind outside. Brother Thomas walked the cobblestone paths with his leather satchel, accepting offerings of bread, cheese, and dried fruits from villagers whose own cupboards were far from full. Yet they gave willingly, understanding that the monks at the abbey shared these donations with travelers and the destitute. His gentle smile and words of blessing warmed hearts even as snowflakes settled on his brown woolen habit, creating a scene of profound peace and generosity. Young Edmund noticed old Martha struggling to split firewood behind her cottage, her aged hands trembling with cold and effort. Without a word, he took the heavy axe and began splitting logs with steady rhythmic strokes. The sharp crack of wood echoed through the crisp air as he worked, his breath forming clouds while Martha watched with tears of gratitude glistening in her eyes like tiny stars reflecting the winter sky. The baker's wife, her apron dusted with flour, prepared extra loaves each evening as the ovens cooled. These weren't for sale but for families whose children might sleep hungry. She wrapped each warm loaf in clean linen, the bread's golden crust still crackling softly from the heat. Through the frosted window she watched as grateful hands received these gifts, knowing that somewhere tonight, little ones would fall asleep with full bellies and grateful hearts. Lady Eleanor opened her manor's storehouse, releasing the rich scents of preserved meats, dried vegetables and stored grains into the cold air. Servants loaded wooden carts with provisions for the village poor, their faces rosy from the chill as they worked with purpose. The gentle lady supervised with kind eyes, ensuring each family received enough to sustain them through the harsh weeks ahead, her generosity flowing as freely as her warm breath in the winter air. Children gathered evergreen boughs and holly berries, their small hands growing red from the cold as they worked. But their mission brought joy, decorating the homes of elderly villagers who could no longer venture into the forest themselves. Their laughter rang like silver bells as they arranged the festive greenery, bringing the beauty of winter indoors for those whose tired bodies kept them by the hearth, yet whose spirits soared with each thoughtful gesture. The village smith, his forge glowing orange against the grey winter sky, repaired broken tools and mended worn horseshoes without charge for those who couldn't afford his services. Sparks danced like tiny fireflies as his hammer rang against metal, each strike an act of charity. His strong hands, blackened by soot but gentle in purpose, crafted solutions for struggling neighbours whose livelihoods depended on these essential tools of daily survival. Widow Agnes, though she had little herself, invited lonely travellers to share her modest hearth. Her small cottage became a beacon of warmth as strangers found refuge from the bitter wind. She ladled thin but nourishing soup into wooden bowls, each serving accompanied by stories that warmed the heart as much as the broth warmed the body. Her eyes twinkled with joy as she watched grateful faces relaxing in the golden glow of her firelight. The village children, bundled in their warmest cloaks, ventured door to door with baskets filled with pine cones they'd gathered from the forest floor. These weren't ordinary gifts, but treasures dipped in melted tallow to create fragrant fire starters for families whose wood supplies ran low. Their cheeks glowed pink from the cold wind as they shared these precious offerings, their innocent generosity teaching the adults around them about the pure joy of giving. Master Geoffrey, the village carpenter, spent his evenings crafting simple wooden toys for children whose parents couldn't afford such luxuries. His workshop filled with the sweet scent of pine shavings as he carved horses, dolls, and spinning tops by lamplight. Each creation was sanded smooth and polished with love, destined to bring Christmas morning smiles to little faces that would light up brighter than any candle flame when they discovered these handmade treasures. The herb woman, her knowledge of healing plants vast as the winter sky, prepared warming teas and soothing salves for those suffering from winter ailments. Her cottage smelled of lavender, chamomile, and dried mint as she carefully measured ingredients into small cloth pouches. With gentle hands weathered by years of caring, she distributed these remedies freely, asking only for prayers in return, her generosity flowing like a healing balm through the community. Young couples, newly married and full of hope, opened their modest homes to elderly villagers who might otherwise spend the long winter evenings alone. Around simple wooden tables lit by flickering candles, stories were shared between generations. The warmth of human companionship melted away the cold isolation that winter could bring, creating bonds stronger than blood and more enduring than the season itself, hearts connecting across the years like stars forming constellations. The merchant's daughter, touched by the sight of barefoot children playing in the snow, convinced her father to donate shoes from their shop. Small leather boots and warm stockings found their way to tiny feet that had known only the bite of cold stone and frozen earth. As children ran through the village square with protected feet, their delighted squeals of joy echoed off the frost-covered buildings, a symphony of gratitude that warmed every generous heart. As night fell over the village, windows glowed like amber jewels against the darkness, each light representing an act of charity performed that day. The cold winter air carried the scent of wood smoke and baking bread, but more importantly, it carried the invisible warmth of countless kind deeds. In this season of giving, the medieval villagers had discovered the greatest treasure, that charity, like love, multiplies when shared, creating a golden tapestry of human compassion that would endure long after winter's end. Chapter 10. Games by the Fireside. The great hearth crackles with fresh logs, casting dancing shadows across the stone floor. Outside, winter winds howl through bare branches, but inside, warmth spreads through every corner of the hall. Children's voices bubble with anticipation, their cheeks flushed from the cold air they've just escaped. Tonight, the fireside becomes a stage where medieval games transform ordinary moments into pure joy and connection. Golden flames leap and sway, painting the walls in shades of amber and copper. The fire's gentle roar creates a soothing backdrop, while sparks occasionally pop and hiss. Wooden benches are pulled closer, forming a cozy circle around the hearth. The scent of burning oak mingles with hints of pine, creating that unmistakable winter evening atmosphere. This fireside becomes the heart of the home, where laughter will soon echo through the halls. Small faces peer eagerly from behind wooden chairs, eyes bright with excitement. Children of all ages gather around, some still clutching woolen mittens in their small hands. Their breath creates tiny clouds in the cooler edges of the room before they move closer to the fire's embrace. Whispered plans and giggled secrets pass between them as they anticipate the evening's entertainment. The youngest ones bounce on their toes, unable to contain their bubbling energy. The first game begins with a simple clapping rhythm, hands meeting in perfect time. Voices join in with ancient rhymes, passed down through generations of winter evenings. The melody rises and falls, weaving through the crackling fire sounds. Some children stumble over the words, dissolving into giggles before trying again. Others perform with practiced confidence, leading the younger ones through each verse. The rhythm becomes hypnotic, drawing everyone into its gentle spell. Earlier today they played in the courtyard's snow, their cheeks red from winter air and exertion. Snowball battles raged with mock seriousness, fortresses built and conquered in the fading daylight. Now they recreate those outdoor adventures by the fire, using gestures and dramatic storytelling. Hands sweep through the air, mimicking the arc of perfectly thrown snowballs. Their voices rise with excitement, reliving each triumphant moment, a narrow escape from chilly defeat. A wooden board appears, carved with intricate patterns, and worn smooth by countless games. Chess pieces stand ready, each one a tiny work of medieval craftsmanship. Two older children face each other, their brows furrowed in deep concentration. The fire's glow illuminates their focused expressions, while other children gather to watch and whisper advice. Each move is deliberate, considered with the gravity of a true strategist. The silence holds anticipation, punctuated only by gentle fireplace sounds. Handmade toys emerge from hidden pockets and wooden chests, each one crafted with care by loving hands. Carved horses gallop across imaginary fields, while cloth dolls host elaborate tea parties on the hearthstones. Wooden spinning tops whirl in hypnotic circles, their motion mesmerizing in the firelight. Simple balls of wrapped cloth become treasured playthings, passed from hand to hand with gentle tosses. These humble toys spark endless imagination, transforming the fireside into magical worlds. Laughter erupts in waves, washing over the room like warm honey. Someone attempts an ambitious juggling act with small beanbags, only to have them scatter across the floor in all directions. The mishap triggers a cascade of giggles, even from the would-be juggler who grins sheepishly. Competition sparks between siblings, each trying to outdo the other's silly antics. The fire seems to dance more vibrantly, as if responding to the joyful energy filling the space. Adults begin to join the circle, drawn by the infectious merriment of the children. Mothers set aside their evening mending. Fathers pause their quiet conversations. Soon they're participating in riddle contests, their deeper voices mixing with higher childish ones. A grandfather demonstrates a finger game, his weathered hands moving with surprising agility. The generation gap dissolves, as play becomes the universal language that connects young and old alike around the glowing hearth. Good-natured arguments break out over game rules, voices rising in mock indignation before dissolving into chuckles. Did the stone land inside the circle, or just outside? The debate grows animated, with witnesses called upon to testify. Hand gestures become increasingly dramatic, as each player pleads their case with theatrical flair. But beneath the playful bickering, warmth and affection shine through every word. These friendly disputes are part of the fun, adding spice to the evening's entertainment. Children's gleeful shrieks pierce the air, as a tickling game spirals out of control. Little ones shriek with delighted terror, scrambling across the floor to escape gentle pursuing fingers. Their laughter becomes almost musical, harmonizing with the fire's steady crackling. Some hide behind furniture, peeking out with sparkling eyes before darting to new hiding spots. The sound of pure joy echoes off the stone walls, creating a symphony of childhood happiness that fills every corner of the room. Emotions flow freely in this sacred space, unguarded and authentic in the firelight's glow. Excitement bubbles over during competitive moments, while gentle disappointment gives way to renewed determination. Comfort passes between family members, through encouraging smiles and supportive touches. Wonder lights up young faces as they witness clever moves and unexpected outcomes. These shared feelings create invisible threads, weaving the gathered souls together in ways that words could never achieve. The fireside becomes a crucible of human connection. Human connectivity reveals itself in its purest form, stripped of pretense and social barriers. Age differences melt away as a child teaches an adult a new hand-clapping pattern. Shy personalities bloom, finding courage in the accepting circle of firelight. Generous spirits share toys and turn-taking opportunities without being asked or reminded. Eyes meet across the circle, communicating understanding and shared amusement. These moments forge bonds that will warm hearts long after the fire turns to glowing embers. The joy in playing becomes palpable, radiating from every participant like heat from the flames. Simple games transform into profound experiences, where winning matters less than the laughter shared along the way. Creativity flourishes as children invent new variations and rules on the spot. Adults rediscover their own childlike wonder, remembering what it feels like to play without purpose beyond pure enjoyment. The fireside holds this magical energy, keeping it safe within its warm and glowing embrace. As the evening progresses, the energy begins to shift toward gentler rhythms. Vigorous games give way to quieter activities. Storytelling and soft singing replace boisterous competitions. Smaller children begin to lean against their parents, eyelids growing heavy in the fire's hypnotic glow. The pace slows naturally, like a music box winding down at the end of its song. Yet the warmth remains, both from the crackling flames and from the connections forged through play. The fire settles into steady, comfortable flames, casting a peaceful glow over the drowsy gathering. Toys are gently set aside, games concluded with satisfied sighs and contented smiles. Children curl up closer to their families, their faces serene in the golden light. The evening's laughter still seems to echo softly, a gentle reminder of joy shared and bonds strengthened. Outside, winter winds continue their eternal song, but here by the fireside, all is warmth, peace, and perfect contentment. Chapter 11. Bells in the Distance. The morning air carries something magical, a deep, resonant toll that seems to emerge from the very soul of winter itself. These are not ordinary bells, but ancient bronze voices that have called to countless souls across the centuries. Each strike reverberates through the frosted landscape, creating ripples of sound that touch every corner of the medieval village below, summoning hearts to gather in sacred unity. Listen closely, and you can feel the vibrations moving through the ground beneath your feet, through the stone walls of cottages, through the very air you breathe. The bell tower stands tall against the grey December sky, its weathered stones holding centuries of Christmas mornings just like this one. The bell ringer pulls the heavy ropes with practiced rhythm, sending waves of sacred sound across the sleeping countryside. One by one, cottage doors begin to open. Families emerge wrapped in their warmest cloaks, their breath creating small clouds in the crisp morning air. Children clutch their parents' hands as they step onto frost-covered cobblestones. The bells continue their ancient song, growing more insistent, more beautiful with each passing moment. This is the sound of Christmas calling, the voice of tradition reaching across time itself. The path to the church fills slowly with figures moving through the gentle snowfall. Their footsteps create a soft percussion against the stone, harmonizing with the bells above. You can see the warm glow of candlelight beginning to flicker through the stained glass windows. The church doors stand open wide, welcoming all who answer the call of these sacred bells that have marked Christmas morning for generations. Inside the ancient sanctuary, the air is thick with incense and anticipation. The bells fade to a gentle whisper as the community gathers in wooden pews worn smooth by countless worshippers. Candles cast dancing shadows on stone pillars, carved with intricate designs. The atmosphere is hushed and reverent, filled with that special peace that only comes when hearts unite in common purpose on this holiest of mornings. The priest's voice rises in ancient Latin, words that have echoed through these vaulted ceilings for centuries. The congregation responds in unison, their voices blending into something larger than themselves. You can feel the power of shared faith, the comfort of tradition, the warmth of belonging to something timeless and true. This is community in its purest form, brought together by the calling of distant bells. Moments of sacred silence stretch between the prayers, creating space for reflection and wonder. In these quiet pauses, you can almost hear the whisper of angels, the soft breathing of the congregation, the settling of ancient stones. The silence is not empty but full, pregnant with meaning, heavy with peace, rich with the presence of something divine that makes this Christmas morning truly holy. Children lean against their parents, eyes wide with wonder at the solemnity of the moment. The adults bow their heads in prayer, their faces illuminated by candlelight, expressions soft with reverence. Even the youngest seem to understand that this is a time set apart, a moment when the ordinary world pauses to acknowledge something greater, something that transforms a simple winter morning into a celebration of hope. The Mass continues with gentle rhythm, readings from ancient texts, hymns sung in harmonious voices, rituals performed with careful reverence. Each element adds another layer to this tapestry of worship, weaving together scripture and song, prayer and silence, tradition and heartfelt devotion. The bells outside continue their distant calling, reminding all within that this sacred gathering extends beyond these stone walls to encompass the entire community. As the final prayers fade into silence, a sense of completion settles over the congregation. Hearts feel full, spirits feel lifted, souls feel nourished. The formal ceremony is ending, but something beautiful is just beginning. People begin to smile at one another, to exchange quiet greetings, to share the joy that fills their hearts on this blessed Christmas morning. The transition from sacred to celebratory begins naturally, gently. Outside, the bells have changed their tune. No longer the solemn call to worship. They now ring with festive joy, announcing to the world that Christmas has officially begun. The sound dances across the snowy landscape, carrying news of celebration to every corner of the village. Children begin to smile more broadly. Adults start to laugh softly, and the atmosphere shifts from reverent to joyful as the community prepares for feast and fellowship. The church steps become a gathering place, where neighbors greet each other with warm embraces and Christmas wishes. Old friendships are renewed, new acquaintances are made, and the spirit of the season begins to work its magic on every heart. The bells continue their jubilant song above, blessing these human connections, celebrating the bonds that make a community truly strong. Unity born in worship now blossoms into genuine fellowship. Families begin their journey home through streets now fully alive with Christmas morning energy. The bells seem to follow them, their joyful pealing echoing off cottage walls and mixing with the sound of laughter and conversation. Snow continues to fall gently, creating a pristine white carpet that muffles footsteps and adds to the magical atmosphere. This is Christmas as it was meant to be, peaceful, joyful, and shared. Kitchen fires are stoked higher as feast preparations begin in earnest. The bells ring on, blessing the work of many hands as they prepare Christmas dinner for extended family and friends. You can almost smell the roasting meat, the fresh bread, the sweet pastries that will grace tables throughout the village. The sacred morning has given way to sacred hospitality, another form of worship expressed through generous abundance. As afternoon approaches, the bells finally begin to soften their song. Their work is nearly done. They have called the faithful to worship, announced the joy of Christmas, and blessed the community's transition from sacred service to festive celebration. The sound becomes more gentle, more distant, like a lullaby settling over the village as everyone prepares for the warmth and wonder of Christmas dinner with loved ones. The last bell stroke fades into the snowy silence, but its echo seems to linger in every heart that heard its call this morning. Christmas has been properly welcomed, with reverence, with community, with joy, and with the timeless wisdom that knows celebration is sweetest when it follows reflection. The bells have done their sacred work, and now the feast awaits, warm, welcoming, and blessed by the peace they helped create. Chapter 12. Candles flicker at feast. As twilight settles over the medieval village, golden light spills from every window. The great hall beckons with warmth and promise. Dozens of beeswax candles cast dancing shadows across weathered stone walls, their flames swaying gently in the evening breeze. The scent of melted wax mingles with wood smoke and roasting meat. Tonight the entire community will gather as one family, united by tradition, nourished by abundance, and blessed by the season's sacred joy. Long wooden tables stretch across the hall, their surfaces polished smooth by countless celebrations. Heavy oak benches await familiar bodies, neighbors who have shared both hardship and harvest throughout the turning year. Pewter plates catch the candlelight, reflecting tiny flames like captured stars. Clay goblets stand ready for the evening's ale and wine. Fresh rushes carpet the floor, releasing herbal fragrances with each footstep. Everything is prepared, everything waits for the gathering to begin. The first villagers arrive as church bells chime vespers. Families enter together, grandparents leaning on walking sticks, children clutching wooden toys, mothers carrying swaddled babies. Their cheeks are rosy from winter cold, their eyes bright with anticipation. Woolen cloaks are shed and hung on iron hooks. Hands are warmed by the hearth fire. Greetings echo through the hall, gentle embraces, whispered blessings, shared smiles that speak of deep community bonds forged through seasons of struggle and celebration. The feast begins with a prayer of gratitude. Every head bows as the village priest raises weathered hands toward heaven. His voice carries ancient words of blessing, thanksgiving for the harvest gathered, for the community sustained, for the holy season that brings light to winter's darkness. Candle flames seem to dance in response to his sacred words. When silence falls, it holds reverence, a moment of collective recognition that this abundance is gift, not guarantee. Trenchers of bread appear first, thick slices of dark rye that will serve as both plate and sustenance. The bread releases steam when broken, carrying scents of grain and yeast and honest labor. Butter follows, churned fresh that morning, pale yellow and sweet. Villagers spread it slowly, savoring each simple pleasure. Even this humble beginning feels abundant, a reminder that the most basic nourishments become feast when shared with grateful hearts and loving companions in the gentle glow of candlelight. The roasted meats arrive on great wooden platters, venison from the Lord's hunt, goose from the village pond, pork from pigs fattened on acorns and kitchen scraps. Steam rises like incense, carrying rich aromas that make mouths water and stomachs growl with anticipation. Carving knives glint in the firelight as portions are distributed with generous hands. Every plate receives abundance, a testament to the season's blessing and the community's commitment to ensure that none go hungry on this sacred evening. Ale flows freely from wooden kegs, its amber surface catching candlelight in each raised goblet. The brew is strong and sweet, flavored with herbs and honey, a welcome warmth against winter's chill. Wine appears for special toasts, deep red liquid that stains lips purple and loosens tongues for storytelling. Cups are raised in blessing, to health, to harvest, to the Holy Child whose birth they celebrate. Liquid courage and liquid joy, both necessary ingredients for a feast that feeds the soul. Children dart between the tables like swift shadows, their laughter brightening every corner of the hall. They sample treats from every platter, sticky fingers grabbing preserved fruits, sweet cakes and honeyed nuts. Their joy is infectious, reminding adults of wonder they thought long forgotten. Candlelight catches in young eyes, reflecting pure delight. These little ones know nothing of hardship or scarcity. Tonight they live in abundance, their innocence blessing the feast with hope for generations yet to come. Stories begin to flow as freely as the ale. Old Thomas recounts the great storm of 20 winters past, how the village pulled together when the mill wheel froze solid. Margaret shares news from her daughter in the distant town, letters that bring far-off places close to home. Each tale weaves another thread in the tapestry of community memory. Voices rise and fall with the cadence of oral tradition, preserving history one story at a time in the golden circle of candlelight. The berries arrive in wooden bowls, late autumn's final gift preserved in honey and spice. Deep purple elderberries burst with tart sweetness. Golden cloudberries dissolve on eager tongues. Dried strawberries release summer memories with each bite. These precious fruits were gathered by careful hands, stored away for this moment when fresh abundance is just memory. Now they offer concentrated sunshine, nature's promise that winter's grip will loosen and spring will surely return to bless the earth again. Music begins softly, a shepherd's flute weaving melodies that seem to dance with the candle flames. A woman's voice joins in, singing ancient carols that her grandmother taught her by this very hearth. Soon others add their voices, harmonies that rise like prayers into the smoky rafters. The music wraps around the feast like an invisible embrace, binding hearts together across differences of age and station. Tonight, every voice matters, every soul contributes to the symphony of community celebration. Conversations ebb and flow like gentle tides. The miller discusses next year's planting with the farmer's son. The weaver shares techniques with eager apprentices. Neighbors plan shared tasks for the coming season. Barn raisings, harvest help, childcare during busy times. These planning sessions are themselves a form of nourishment, the social bonds that will sustain the community through whatever challenges await. In candlelight and fellowship, practical support is woven into the fabric of daily life. The elderly share places of honor near the warmth of the great hearth. Their weathered hands hold goblets steady. Their eyes reflect decades of similar gatherings. They are the living memory of the village, keepers of wisdom earned through seasons of plenty and want. Tonight they bask in respect and comfort, surrounded by generations they helped raise and guide. Their presence blesses the feast, anchoring celebration in continuity, and reminding all that every ending contains the seeds of new beginning. As the evening deepens, the candlelight seems to grow more golden, more magical. Faces shine with contentment and ale-induced merriment. Bellies are full, hearts are warm, and spirits soar with seasonal joy. This is the hour when the feast transforms from meal to memory, when ordinary people become part of something sacred and eternal. The flickering flames seem to approve, dancing higher as if celebrating their role in creating this moment of perfect human connection. Gratitude fills the hall like incense, unspoken but deeply felt by every soul present. This abundance was not guaranteed. Many villages face hunger this winter. But here, tonight, there is plenty. Enough food, enough warmth, enough love to sustain body and spirit through the dark months ahead. The candles continue their gentle dance, illuminating faces marked by genuine thankfulness. In this moment, wealth is not measured in coins, but in community, not in possessions, but in the precious gift of belonging. The feast continues deep into the night, a celebration that feeds more than hunger. It nourishes the soul's need for connection, for ritual, for meaning beyond daily survival. As you drift into peaceful sleep, carry with you this vision of medieval Christmas joy. The flickering candles, the shared abundance, the faces glowing with love and laughter. Let their warmth chase away any winter chill in your own heart, reminding you that the deepest feast is always fellowship, the greatest gift is always love. Chapter 13. Under the Yuletide Moon. The medieval village settles into Christmas night as torchlight begins to flicker against ancient stone walls. Above, countless stars pierce the winter darkness like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Tonight marks the culmination of days of celebration, a time when the entire community gathers beneath heaven's canopy to honor the season with dance, song, and shared joy that echoes through the frosty air. Villagers emerge from their warm cottages, breath visible in silver puffs as they step into the crisp night. Children clutch their parents' hands, eyes wide with wonder at the magical scene unfolding before them. The village square transforms into a sacred space where generations come together, where the elderly share stories with the young, and where every soul becomes part of something larger than themselves. The first torch ignites with a satisfying whoosh, followed by another, then another. Soon dozens of flames dance in the darkness, casting warm golden light across weathered faces filled with anticipation. The torches smell of pine resin and beeswax, their smoke curling upward to mingle with the stars. Each flame represents a family, a household, a beating heart ready to celebrate this most sacred of nights. Musicians gather near the old stone well, tuning their instruments with practiced hands. A lute player strums gentle chords that float across the square. A drummer taps out an ancient rhythm that seems to pulse with the very heartbeat of the earth. The melody they weave together speaks of gratitude, of community, of the deep bonds that unite these simple folk in their shared celebration. The first dancers step forward, moving with grace that speaks of generations of tradition. Their shadows stretch long across the cobblestones, creating shapes that seem to dance alongside them. The women's skirts swirl in the torchlight while the men's boots keep steady time against the ancient stones. Each movement tells a story. Each gesture carries the weight of countless Christmas nights before this one. Children join the circle, their laughter ringing like silver bells through the frosty air. They stumble over the steps at first, but elder dancers gently guide their movements, teaching them the sacred choreography passed down through countless generations. In this moment, past and future unite. Tradition flows from old hands to young hearts, ensuring the dance will continue long after tonight's stars fade. The rhythm grows stronger now, pulling more souls into its embrace. Farmers and merchants, mothers and maidens, all move as one beneath the Christmas sky. The dance becomes a prayer without words, a celebration that transcends language and speaks directly to the heart. Their movements create a living mandala of community spirit, each person essential to the beautiful whole they create together. Overhead, the moon watches like a benevolent guardian, her silver light blending with the golden glow of torches. The stars seem to pulse in rhythm with the music, as if heaven itself joins in this earthly celebration. The night air carries the scent of wood smoke from cottage chimneys, mixing with the sweet aroma of wassail warming in clay pots nearby. An old grandmother claps her weathered hands in time with the music, her eyes sparkling with memories of dances past. Beside her, a young mother sways with her sleeping babe, the child's peaceful face illuminated by torch glow. These moments bridge the years, connecting those who have danced this dance for decades with those experiencing its magic for the very first time. The music shifts to a gentler melody, and the dancers respond with slower, more contemplative movements. This is the part of the celebration dedicated to gratitude, where each person reflects on the blessings of the year past. Their faces glow with inner peace as they move through steps that honor the harvest gathered, the loved ones safe, the community strong despite winter's challenges. Steam rises from cups of mulled wine and spiced cider as villagers pause to warm themselves. The drinks taste of cinnamon and cloves, of honey and hope. Conversations flow in gentle murmurs, stories of the year's joys and sorrows, plans for the seasons ahead, gratitude for neighbors who became family. Each sip seems to strengthen the bonds that unite this close-knit community. A young couple steps forward to lead a special dance, their movements graceful and synchronized as if they share one heart. Other pairs follow their example, husbands and wives, sweethearts and friends, all moving in harmony beneath the starlit sky. The dance speaks of love's enduring power, of connections that survive winter's cold and emerge stronger with each passing season. The torches burn lower now, their flames settling into steady glows that cast everything in warm amber light. The dancing continues with quiet reverence, each movement deliberate and meaningful. These are not mere steps, but prayers made visible, expressions of faith, hope, and love that require no words. The night wraps around them like a protective cloak, holding their joy safe. Children begin to yawn against their parents' shoulders, lulled by the gentle rhythm and the late hour. But still they watch with heavy-lidded eyes, absorbing every detail of this magical night. They will remember this always, the way the stars seem to dance along, the warmth of their community's embrace, the feeling of belonging to something ancient and beautiful. As the celebration draws to its close, the villagers form one final circle, hands joined in a chain of connection that encompasses the entire square. Their voices rise in a gentle carol that seems to lift toward the stars themselves. The melody carries their hopes and dreams, their gratitude and love, up into the infinite darkness where it joins the eternal song of Christmas. The last torch flickers and dims, leaving only moonlight and starshine to illuminate the now quiet square. The villagers drift back to their homes, hearts full of the night's magic, but the spirit of what they shared lingers in the air, a reminder that some celebrations transcend time itself, connecting us across centuries through the simple power of community, gratitude, and love shared beneath the Yuletide moon. Chapter 14. Epiphany Dawn. The first light of January 6th creeps across the medieval village, painting frost-covered rooftops in shades of gold and rose. This sacred morning marks the arrival of the wise men, the final celebration before the Christmas season gently fades away. In castle halls and humble cottages, families gather for one last feast. The air carries the scent of cinnamon and cloves, remnants of holiday joy that will soon settle into peaceful memory until winter comes again. The church bells ring out across the snow-dusted landscape, calling villagers to morning prayer. Their bronze voices echo through narrow cobblestone streets where icicles hang like crystal ornaments from timber-framed houses. Children emerge bundled in woolen cloaks, their breath forming little clouds in the crisp air. They carry small gifts, simple wooden toys and dried fruit, following the ancient tradition of giving on this day of revelation. The bells seem to whisper stories of distant lands and traveling kings. Inside the great hall, servants arrange the final feast of the season. Tapestries depicting the nativity scene hang from stone walls, illuminated by flickering candlelight. The massive oak table groans under platters of roasted goose, honey cakes and mulled wine steaming in pewter cups. Lords and ladies take their places while minstrels tune their lutes in the corner. This meal celebrates the wise men's journey, their gifts of gold, frankincense and myrrh, symbols of devotion that warm hearts on this cold winter morning. The castle kitchen bustles with gentle activity as cooks prepare the ceremonial Twelfth Night cake. Flour dusts weathered hands as they knead sweet dough infused with precious spices from distant markets. A single bean hides within the mixture. Whoever finds it will be crowned king or queen for the day. Steam rises from the great hearth where logs crackle and spark. The air fills with the comforting aroma of baking bread, a scent that speaks of tradition, community, and the sacred act of sharing sustenance. Young voices drift through the monastery corridors as novice monks practice their morning hymns. Their innocent chorus celebrates the manifestation of Christ to the Gentiles, the moment when divine love revealed itself to all nations. Candlelight flickers across illuminated manuscripts where scribes have painted scenes of the Magi in brilliant blues and golds. The boys' voices blend like gentle streams flowing toward the sea, carrying prayers and gratitude for the season's blessings that now draw to their peaceful close. In village homes, mothers remove the final evergreen boughs from mantels and doorways. Dried holly leaves crumble like autumn memories between their fingers while children watch with sleepy eyes. The Christmas greenery that once symbolized eternal life now returns to nature's cycle, composting in kitchen gardens where spring vegetables will grow. Each discarded sprig carries whispered prayers and cherished moments, family gatherings, shared meals, and quiet nights by the fire that will live forever in grateful hearts. The lord of the manor walks through his great hall one final time, observing the remnants of weeks-long celebration. Dried flower petals from the Christmas rose scatter across worn stone floors. Burnt-down candles rest in puddles of cooled wax, their flames having witnessed countless hours of storytelling and song. He touches the ancient Yule log's charred remains in the massive fireplace, knowing its ashes will bless the fields come spring planting. Every ember holds memories of warmth shared during winter's darkest nights. The village baker prepares his final batch of star-shaped biscuits, sweet treats that children have treasured throughout the 12 days of Christmas. His weathered hands shape the dough with practiced care, while his wife arranges dried fruits and nuts on wooden trays. Soon these will be distributed to families as parting gifts, small tokens of the season's abundance. The bakery's warmth spreads into the cold morning air, carrying the promise that while Christmas traditions sleep, human kindness remains forever awake. Inside the village church, the priest removes ornate golden vestments worn only during the Christmas season. He folds them carefully with reverent hands, these sacred garments that have blessed countless celebrations. The altar's elaborate decorations, carved wooden angels and silk banners, are gently stored away until next year's Advent. Stained glass windows filter morning light into rainbow patterns across empty pews where families gathered in worship. The church rests now, holding space for ordinary miracles and daily prayers. Children gather in the castle courtyard for one last game before the holidays officially end. Their laughter echoes off stone walls as they chase each other through patches of melting snow. Wooden hobby horses and cloth dolls, cherished Christmas gifts, accompany their play. Parents watch from arched doorways, memorizing these moments of innocent joy. The children sing ancient carols learned at their mother's knees, voices pure as winter air carrying melodies that bridge earth and heaven in perfect harmony. The monastery bells toll the hour as monks gather for their final Christmas office. Brother Francis closes the great book of seasonal readings, its illuminated pages depicting the nativity in jeweled colors. The abbot speaks softly of the wise men's journey, how they followed a star across desert sands to find the Christ child. His words drift through the chapel like incense smoke, reminding all present that seeking wisdom requires both faith and patience. The season ends, but the journey of the heart continues. Servants begin the gentle task of packing away Christmas treasures in wooden chests lined with lavender and rosemary. Silk ribbons that adorned evergreen wreaths are carefully rolled, their colors still bright with holiday memory. Ceramic nativity figures are wrapped in soft linen, the Holy Family, shepherds and angels resting until another winter calls them forth. Each item carries the weight of tradition, passed down through generations of faithful families who understand that some gifts transcend time and circumstance. The great feast draws to its close as the ceremonial cake emerges from the kitchen, golden brown and fragrant with exotic spices. The Lord cuts careful slices while everyone holds their breath, waiting to see who will find the hidden bean. When young Margaret discovers it in her portion, cheers fill the hall. She's crowned with a circlet of ivy, queen for this one precious day. The tradition teaches that joy can surprise us in the smallest moments, that every person carries divine spark within. As afternoon shadows lengthen across the snow-covered landscape, families begin their quiet reflections on the season past. Mothers sit by spinning wheels, their hands working wool while minds drift through memories of Christmas morning surprises and candlelit services. Fathers tend fires that will burn through the coming ordinary days, flames that remember the warmth of holiday gatherings. The wise men's gifts of gold, frankincense and myrrh inspire thoughts of treasures that rust cannot touch, love, faith and hope. The children's final Christmas chorus rises from the village square as twilight paints the sky in shades of purple and gold. Their voices blend with evening breezes that carry away the last echoes of seasonal celebration. Parents gather them close, knowing these moments of pure innocence are themselves the greatest gifts. The carols they sing tell ancient stories of shepherds in fields, angels in clouds, and a star that guided seekers home. Music becomes memory, memory becomes blessing, blessing becomes eternal presence. Night falls gently on Epiphany, the 12th and final day of Christmas, settling into peaceful rest. Candles are extinguished one by one in cottage windows, while families offer evening prayers of gratitude. The Christmas season folds itself like a precious letter, sealed with love and stored in the heart's treasury. Outside, the first stars appear, including that bright one in the east that guided wise men long ago. The holidays sleep now, waiting patiently for another winter, when wonder will wake the world again. Chapter 15. Winter's End. Spring's Promise. The longest nights are finally behind us now, and something magical shifts in the medieval air around us. Through frost-kissed windows, villagers notice the sun lingering just a moment longer each precious day. The harsh grip of winter begins to soften gradually, loosening its icy hold on the cobblestones and thatched roofs. Children who once hurried indoors now pause to feel the gentler wind against their rosy cheeks, sensing profound change in every breath they take. In the village square, patches of snow retreat like shy animals returning to their dens. The fountain, frozen solid for months, begins to whisper with the first tentative drops of melting ice. Merchants venture out earlier each morning, their breath visible but less harsh in the gradually warming air. The scent of wood smoke still curls from chimneys, but now it mingles with something else, something fresh and promising, that speaks of earth awakening beneath the fading frost. The castle walls, once stark against winter's grey palette, now catch hints of golden morning light that stretches further with each passing day. Guards on the ramparts stamp their feet less vigorously, finding their watch duties more bearable as the bitter wind loses its cutting edge. From the great hall windows, nobles gaze out at their lands with anticipation, knowing that soon the fields will burst with activity once more, and life will quicken throughout their domain. In the monastery gardens, Brother Thomas kneels beside raised beds where tiny green shoots dare to emerge from the dark soil. His weathered hands, cracked from winter's harsh embrace, gently brush away the last stubborn patches of snow. Each small sprig of life fills him with quiet joy, a reminder that even in the depths of winter's reign, nature patiently prepares for resurrection. He whispers a prayer of gratitude for this eternal cycle of renewal. The village baker opens her shutters wider now, letting the strengthening sunlight stream across flour-dusted counters. Her ovens, which worked overtime during Christmas feasts, now settle into gentler rhythms. The aroma of fresh bread mingles with the crisp morning air, and customers linger longer in her warm shop, no longer rushing to escape winter's bite. Conversations flow more easily, punctuated by relieved laughter as neighbors share their hopes for the approaching season. Children who spent months bundled in heavy woolen cloaks now shed layers with increasing frequency. They venture further from their hearths, discovering that puddles of melted snow create perfect mirrors for cloud-watching games. Their voices, muffled for so long by winter's oppressive silence, ring out more clearly now. Mothers smile from doorways, no longer constantly worried about frostbite and fever, sensing that spring's gentle protection draws nearer with each sunrise. The blacksmith's forge, essential during winter's harshest months, now competes with natural warmth seeping through his workshop walls. His hammer strikes ring with different tones in the changing air, and apprentices no longer huddle quite so closely around the glowing coals. Through open doors he watches icicles drip their slow farewell from the eaves, each drop marking time's passage toward a season of growth, renewal, and the blessed relief that comes with winter's gentle retreat. In the great hall, tapestries depicting winter scenes seem less relevant now as natural light grows stronger each day. The massive fireplace, once the heart of all activity, shares its importance with windows that frame increasingly hopeful views. Nobles discuss plans for spring planting and summer celebrations, their conversations animated by possibilities rather than survival concerns. The Christmas decorations, though faded, still hold places of honor, cherished memories of joy that sustained them through darkness. Village cats emerge from their winter hiding places, stretching luxuriously in patches of weak but warming sunlight. They pick their way carefully across melting cobblestones, tails held high with renewed confidence. Dogs shake themselves with greater enthusiasm, their coats no longer constantly fluffed against the cold. Even the horses in the stable yard seem to prance with lighter steps, sensing freedom from heavy blankets and the promise of green pastures ahead. The church bells ring their evening prayers with tones that seem clearer in the changing air. Father Benedict notices that more villagers venture out for vespers now that darkness falls later, and the walk requires less courage. Candles still flicker against the lingering chill, but their light mingles with the last rays of daylight streaming through stained glass windows, creating patterns that speak of hope and renewal, rather than mere survival through winter's trials. In humble cottages, families gather around tables where conversations shift from concerns about fuel and food stores to dreams of warmer days ahead. Children draw pictures of flowers and butterflies on frost-covered windows, their breath no longer quite so visible in the gradually warming air. Parents exchange knowing glances, remembering previous springs and drawing comfort from nature's reliable promise that this harsh season, too, shall pass into memory. The innkeeper stocks less firewood now, trusting that his guests will need fewer logs to stay comfortable through the night. Travelers arrive with reports of muddy roads and flowing streams, sure signs that winter's grip loosens throughout the countryside. Stories shared over ale speak of anticipation rather than endurance, and laughter comes more easily in the warming common room where Christmas memories still glow like embers in grateful hearts. As twilight approaches, the horizon blushes with colors that seemed impossible during winter's grey dominion. Purple and rose paint the western sky, promising that tomorrow will bring even more light to this medieval world. Villagers pause in their evening tasks to witness this daily miracle, their faces softening with relief and wonder. The harsh lines carved by months of cold weather begin to ease as smiles return more frequently to weathered faces. Night falls gently now, no longer the harsh black curtain that once dropped so suddenly and completely. Stars emerge like old friends returning after a long absence, twinkling with renewed brilliance in the clearing sky. The sound of wind through bare branches changes pitch, becoming less mournful and more musical. Even in darkness there's a sense of awakening, of life stirring beneath the surface, preparing for its grand return. The last echoes of Christmas bells fade into memory, but their joyful message lingers in hearts throughout the medieval village. What seemed like an endless winter has revealed its temporary nature, yielding gradually to spring's inevitable arrival. The lessons learned during these cold months, community, gratitude, resilience, remain woven into the fabric of daily life. As you settle into sleep, let these gentle transitions wash over you like a warm, comforting tide. Breathe deeply and feel yourself drifting with the changing seasons, carried on soft winds that whisper of renewal and hope. The medieval world settles into peaceful slumber around you, its people content in the knowledge that winter's gifts, closer communities, cherished traditions, deeper appreciation for simple warmth, will endure long after the snow melts. Let sleep take you gently, like spring sunshine warming the earth, into dreams filled with promise and possibility.